I just want to say that the United Nations Migration Global Compact will not open up our borders. It is not an attack on our sovereignty, it won't limit free speech, and it won't allow for illegal immigration. Because that's already happened. It's already begun. It's not so much an attack on our sovereignty, because our sovereignty is already lost. You think back a couple of months ago, there was an article in the Herald, Niue, which is a realm, a territory of this country. On their national day, Niuean Constitution Day, what flag did they fly? They flew I was going to say Australian for a minute. They flew the Chinese flag. Not much difference from the Australian flag at the moment. They flew the Chinese flag on their national day of significance because a Chinese ambassador was there, to the exclusion of every other flag. What does that say about this country when one of our territories flies the flag of a foreign, I would say hostile power, and we're doing nothing about it? We talk about open borders. The border is already open. It is already a free-for-all for all the people that come in. 130,000 people, because Statistics New Zealand realised they were counting the figures wrong. That's the reality of the situation. We talk about illegal immigration. The National Party says this migration pact is bad because it allows for illegal immigration. Ladies and gentlemen, 10,000 overstays in this country because they won't fund Immigration NZ enough resources to send them back. That's the reality. So yes, this is a symbolic victory for the globalists, but don't let it slip your minds what's been going on in this country for the past 10 years. Now for me, it's not about being anti-migrant or anti-immigration. For me, it's about one simple thing. It's about democracy. And what we find about migration policy, and what we find about the UN, is every single time when the most important decisions about how we live our lives come, they never asked us. We were never asked. There was no memo, there were no minutes, we missed the notice for the AGM. Ladies and gentlemen, we were treated as if we were asleep, but they took our taxpayer money to do it anyway. But this is where history becomes important. This isn't the first time this has happened. 30 years ago, the national government introduced a bill before Parliament. It was the 1991 Immigration Amendment Act, and what that did is it unleashed this floodgate of immigration that we now see today. Labour had their part to play as well, by no means am I letting them off the hook. Well, what happened there? Well, the bill went before Parliament, and there were 75 submissions, and 73 of those submissions were absolutely, unequivocally opposed because of the lack of thinking and foresight in this bill. 2 were in favour, and those 2 submissions in favour were both from immigration consultants. How about that? How about that? Once again, immigration policy is not the preserve of the people, it's a preserve of the tiny, small, clustered away elite living in Wellington, and now because of this migration compact, all the way in Manhattan, New York. And it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. When you look at the document itself, we're looking for the word consultation. Consultation appears 4 times across 38 pages, and every time it appears, it is not talking about consultation with the people. It is not talking about consultation with democracies or through elections. It is talking about consultation through migration advocacy groups or remittance groups to make sure that the migrants' money goes back to where they came from. The most dangerous thing about this compact is not what it says, because it pays lip service to many things. It says we believe in free speech, but at the same time we want to eliminate racism, xenophobia and discrimination against all migrants and refugees. The first organisation to achieve that in human history. Well, good luck to them. But in the process we lose freedom of speech. In the process, in their mad quest for a utopian perfect society, we lose freedom of expression and we lose freedom of association. It talks about respecting sovereignty, but at the same time it's promoting regular migration, which is a code word for legal, as opposed to irregular, which is code word for illegal. What happened after the last US election? They said democracy was under attack. No, democracy happened. And sometimes you don't always get the results you want. But that's exactly what this compact is about. It's about insurance. It's about insurance for the globalists, because they understand that their establishment and their consensus is breaking. People are waking up. They're starting to realise that all the lies they told them, we need migration for skills. Well, that's, excuse my French, that's nonsense. Nonsense. Because the fact of the matter is, the people coming into this country are not skilled. 60% of the migrants coming here on visas are not on the essential skills list. When you look at the people coming in, hairdressers, restaurant managers, and gas station attendants. Tell that to the 79,000 young Kiwis who are not in education, employment or training. How about that? They said that immigration was going to give us jobs. It was going to give us jobs. We have more migration than ever, but unemployment has never gone down 150,000 in this country since the 1990s. There was a day in this country where we had less than 2,900 unemployed. Sometimes it was as low as 29, because we believed that if you wanted a job and you were ready to work, we'd give you that job. And then through the 80s, it reached 300,000. What happened? Did 300,000 Kiwis who built this country into one of the most richest places in the OECD give up and lose their work ethic overnight? Is that what happened? Are you serious? Do you really believe this nonsense? They said that it would grow our economy. But when we look at it today, growth per capita per hours worked has never been lower. We're actually doing worse than some countries like Slovenia and Czechoslovakia. We're doing worse and growing worse than countries that have emerged from communism. What does that tell you? What does that tell you about what's going on in this country? If you're going to take away one message from today, it's this. This migration compact is just the beginning, and just that. After this comes the conferences and all the airplane rides. After this comes the forums and the conferences. After it comes the working groups and the reviews. What this is about is entrenching the idea of migration as a human right into legislation and into political discourse. They are undermining the idea of what it is to be a New Zealander by making the very name redundant. They are making the idea of nationhood utterly redundant by stripping out of everything that makes it meaningful. We respect sovereignty, but you can't make your own laws. We respect nations, but you can't be proud of who you are. We respect borders unless you enforce them. How about that?